The command center of the Galactic Empire was quiet. Admiral Crox stood on the main platform. He looked at the big star map. His eyes were sharp. He was a strong leader. His species had won many wars. They conquered many planets. A scientist walked to the platform. His name was Zale. He was old and his hands shook. He held a data pad. His face looked worried. "Admiral," Zale said. His voice was soft. "We have found a new system. It is full of energy. The planets are rich. It is called the Sol System." Admiral Crox smiled. A new system meant new resources. It meant more power for the Empire. He liked this news. "Good," Crox said. "Prepare the invasion fleet. We will take the system quickly." But Zale did not smile. He looked more worried. He touched his datapad. A red symbol appeared on the screen. It was an old symbol, a circle with a line through it. A warning. "There is a problem, Admiral." Zale said, "The system, it is not unknown. Our ancient records know it. It has a name, Terran territory." Crox frowned. "Terran? What is that? A species name?" "Yes," Zale said. He showed an image. It was an old picture. It showed a city from 1,000 years ago. The buildings were small. The vehicles were simple. There were humans walking. They looked weak. They looked primitive. Crox laughed. A loud, rough laugh. "You are afraid of these? Look at them. They are like insects. We have crushed stronger species. We have destroyed advanced civilizations. Why worry about these humans?" Zale shook his head. He pointed to the red symbol. "This warning is very old. It is a red directive, the highest level. It says one thing: forbidden. Do not enter. Do not approach. It is forbidden." Crox walked closer to the image. He looked at the humans. They were small. They had no claws, no armor. They looked harmless. "It is a ghost story," Crox said. "An old tale to scare children. Maybe these humans are all dead now. Maybe the warning is for nothing." Zale's voice became urgent. "My lord, please listen. The warning is clear. The danger is not what they were. It is what they became. The records are unclear, but they hint the humans changed. They evolved. They are not what they seem in these pictures." But Crox did not listen. He saw only a weak enemy. He saw a prize for his empire. His pride was big. His fleet was powerful. He had never lost a battle. He turned to his officers. They stood at their stations. They waited for his command. "Signal the 4th Battle Fleet," Crox said. His voice was loud and sure. "Set course for the Sol System. Maximum speed. We go in full strength. We will show these Terrans what the Galactic Empire can do." On the big screen, the mighty fleet appeared. Hundreds of warships, big destroyers, fast attack ships. They were the best of the Empire. They moved into formation. Zale felt cold fear. He looked at the old warning symbol. It seemed to glow. He remembered the ancient texts. They spoke of a power that did not fight with ships, a power that tested the soul. But no one believed those old stories. The scientist took one last try. He stepped forward. "Admiral, I beg you, do not send the fleet. The warning is there for a reason. We do not understand what is in that system. It is a forbidden place." Admiral Crox looked at Zale. His eyes were cold. "Your fear is a weakness, scientist. The Empire does not fear ghosts. We fear nothing. We take what we want." He turned back to the screen. The fleet was ready. The jump engine started to glow. A low hum filled the command center. "All ships," Crox commanded, "jump to the Sol System. Conquest protocol. Let us add another star to our empire." The ships glowed bright. Then, in a flash, they were gone. They jumped into warp speed, heading straight for the forbidden territory. The command center was silent again. Zale stood alone. He looked at the empty space on the star map, where the fleet had gone. He looked at the red warning symbol still on his screen. He had a bad feeling. A very bad feeling. The Empire had strength. But what if the humans had something else? Something beyond strength? Something beyond understanding? He whispered to himself. "You were warned. Why did you not listen?" On the main screen, A timer started. It showed the fleet's arrival time at the Sol system. The numbers counted down. 48 hours. Everything was in motion now. The Empire was coming. And the humans were waiting. But what were they waiting for? 48 hours later, the Empire's fleet dropped out of warp speed. They arrived at the edge of the Sol system. The stars were bright. The quiet of space was deep. Admiral Croc stood on his bridge. He looked at the main screen. He saw a blue and green planet, third from the sun. Earth. Scan the planet, Croc ordered. Full analysis. Find their defenses. Find their military. The scanners hummed. Lights flashed on the control panels. The officers worked quickly. A junior officer spoke. His voice was confused. Sir, scans are complete. The planet has advanced structures. Cities. Energy grids. Technology level is high. Very high. Croc smiled. Good. Rich resources. Their technology will be useful. But the officer continued. His confusion grew. There is more, Admiral. Our life form scanners, they detect nothing. Croc turned. What do you mean, nothing? No life signs, sir. No movement. No heat signatures from living beings. The cities are empty. The planet is silent. Croc did not believe it. That is impossible. Show me a visual. Maximum zoom. The screen changed. It showed a city. Tall buildings. Wide roads. Flying vehicles parked neatly. Green parks. Everything was perfect. But no people. Not a single human walked the streets. No vehicles moved in the sky. The city was a model. A beautiful, empty model. A strange feeling came to the bridge. The officers looked at each other. This was not normal. A conquered planet was loud. It was full of fear and fighting. This silence was wrong. Maybe a plague? One officer suggested. Maybe they all died. Croc shook his head. Look at the city. It is perfect. No damage. No decay. If they died, who was maintaining everything? He made a decision. Send a scout team. The best team. Land in that big city. I want a physical report. I want to see with our own eyes. A small ship left the main fleet. It flew toward the blue planet. It entered the atmosphere. The sky was clear and blue. The sun was shining. The ship landed softly in a wide city square. The doors opened. 5 elite scouts stepped out. Their boots clicked on the clean ground. They held their weapons ready. Captain Voren led the team. He was a veteran. He had seen many strange worlds. But this was the strangest. The air was fresh. Birds sang in the trees. Flowers bloomed. But there were no humans. Spread out, Voren said. Check the buildings. Stay on comms. The scouts moved. They entered a tall glass building. The doors opened automatically for them. Inside, the lights were on. Desks had computers. Cups of liquid were on tables. The liquid was still warm. One scout, named RYL, found a small room, a child's room. A toy spaceship lay on the floor. He picked it up. The toy was warm. Like a child had just held it. RYL felt a chill. He looked around. He felt eyes on him. He looked at the window. He saw only his own reflection. Captain, RYL said over the comms, something is wrong here. It feels watched. On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Croc listened. He watched the live feed from the scouts' helmets. He saw the empty streets. The perfect silent world. This is a trick, Croc muttered. They are hiding. They are cowards. Suddenly, all the screens on the bridge flickered. A low sound came from all the speakers. A deep, calm voice filled the room. It spoke in perfect galactic common language. You were warned. Every officer froze. The voice was not angry. It was not loud. It was just clear. You are now in violation. Admiral Croc jumped up. Where is that coming from? Trace it. The tech officer scrambled. Their hands flew over controls. We cannot, Admiral. The signal is everywhere. It is coming from the planet, from space, from our own systems. The voice spoke again. The test has begun. Then silence returned. The screens went back to normal. The hum of the ship's engines was the only sound. Down on the planet, Captain Voren and his team heard the same voice in their helmets. Then, their weapons made a soft beep. The power lights went off. Their guns were dead. Their ship's door, still open behind them, suddenly closed. A lock sound echoed in the square. They were stranded. Voren looked at his team. Their faces were pale. The warm toy spaceship fell from RYL's hand and hit the ground. On the bridge, Admiral Croc stared at the image of Earth, the beautiful, silent, blue planet. For the first time, a small doubt entered his heart. What kind of test? And what happened if they failed? Panic hit the Empire flagship. The voice was gone, but the fear remained. Admiral Croc slammed his fist on his command chair. A test? What test? Show yourselves humans. Face us like warriors. Only silence answered him. On the planet, Captain Voren tried his comms. Flagship, do you read? Our weapons are dead. Our ship is locked. We need instructions. Static. Then the calm human voice returned. But this time, it spoke only to the scout team. It sounded inside their helmets, clear and close. To pass the test, reach the Central Park. You have 3 hours. Use only your mind and your will. Your technology is disabled. The line went dead. Voren looked at his team. Central Park was visible in the distance. Tall trees, wide green space. A 30-minute walk with normal gear. But now, RYL pointed at a small device on his belt. Navigation unit is blank. Maps are gone. Another scout tried his wrist computer. Mine too. Everything is just off. They were in a giant, silent city with no maps, no working tech, and no idea of the rules. Back in space, Admiral Croc ordered a scan. Find that voice source. Now! The officer's hands shook. Admiral, our sensors, they are not working right. We can see the city, but we cannot scan for life forms or energy signals. It is like a fog on our instruments. Croc growled. Then use visuals. Watch the scout team. See what happens. On the big screen, they watched the 5 scouts start walking. The streets were empty. Their footsteps echoed. On the ground, the first challenge came quickly. They reached a wide road. There was no traffic. But in the middle of the road, a simple child's puzzle was drawn with bright paint. A maze. A maze, one scout laughed nervously. For children? But when Voren took a step onto the road, the city around them changed. The buildings seemed to lean in. The sky darkened a little. A soft pressure filled their minds. It was not a sound, but a feeling. A question. Do you step on the path of another without thought? Voren froze. The feeling was clear. This was not about the maze. It was about intention. About respect. He looked at his team. Walk around. Do not step on the drawing. They carefully went around the painted maze on the sidewalk. As they passed it, the feeling of pressure lifted. The sky brightened. It was a test of their mind, of their choice. Back on the ship, Croc watched, frustrated. Why are they walking around a drawing? Move. Run. His officer spoke softly. Sir, our bioscanners are picking up something strange. The scouts' brain waves. When they avoided the puzzle, their stress levels dropped. It is like the city responded. Croc did not like this. This was not a battle. This was a game, and he did not know the rules. The scouts moved deeper into the city. They came to a bridge over a small river. In the middle of the bridge was a single, fresh red apple on a stone pillar. The human voice whispered in their minds again. One is hungry. One is thirsty. One must choose. The scouts looked at each other. RYL's throat was dry. Another scout's stomach growled. They had not eaten since landing. The apple looked perfect, fresh, tempting. But Voren remembered the first test. Intention. This is not about food, he said. It is about sharing, about need. He asked his team, who is most hungry? Who is most thirsty? They talked. They decided. The youngest scout was most thirsty. Another was most hungry. Voren picked up the apple. We will share. A bite for the hungry, the juice for the thirsty. He carefully broke the apple. As he did, a small, clean stream of water started flowing from the stone pillar. Fresh, cool water. They drank. They ate the small pieces. It was enough. As they finished, the far end of the bridge, which had seemed blocked by mist, cleared. The path to the park was now visible. In orbit, Crocs had seen enough. This was weakness. This was nonsense. "They are playing with us," he shouted. "Enough games. Target that empty mountain near the city. A low-power warning shot. Let's shake this planet up." "Admiral, no." The old scientist Zale's voice came from the comms. He was still on the flagship. "It is a test. Do not use force." But Crocs was angry. "Fire." A single blue energy bolt shot from the flagship. It sped towards the planet, aimed at a bare rocky mountain. Every screen on the bridge watched it. The bolt reached the atmosphere. Then, a few hundred meters above the mountain, it dissolved like sugar in water. It vanished without a sound, without a flash. Complete silence on the bridge. Then, the human voice returned. It was not calm anymore. It was cold, sharp. It spoke to everyone, the scouts, the fleet, all at once. Violation. Use of force. The voice paused. The silence felt heavy. The test has now failed. Initiating protocol, containment. Outside the ship's windows, the stars of the solar system began to go out, one by one, as if a giant, dark hand was covering them. In less than a minute, total blackness surrounded the entire fleet. No stars. No sun. Only the distant, silent blue planet below, glowing with its own soft light. They were trapped inside a perfect, dark bubble. The bridge lights flickered. The ship's power dropped to minimal. In the dark, Admiral Crocs heard only the sound of his own breathing, fast and scared. On the planet, Captain Vorin and his team looked up. The sky was now a solid, dark black. No sun, no clouds, only the city lights and the glowing trees of Central Park in the distance. The final line of the message echoed in Vorin's mind. Containment. What did that mean? And what happens to those who fail a test they never understood? Inside the dark bubble, the Empire flagship was silent. The only light came from the emergency panels, glowing a dim red. Admiral Croc stared at the main screen, which now showed only blackness. No stars. No way out. Report. Crocs's voice cut through the quiet. All systems at minimal power, Admiral. An officer said, her voice tight. Engines are offline. Weapons are dead. Shields are gone. We are floating. No contact with the rest of the fleet. Sensors see nothing but the planet below. On the planet, Captain Vorin and his scouts stood frozen. The warm, sunny day was gone. Now, the air was cool and still. The city lights were on, but the sky was a dome of perfect black. Central Park glowed faintly in the distance, like a green jewel. The park, Vorin whispered. That's where we have to go. But before they could move, the air in front of them shimmered, like heat rising from the road. A figure began to form. It started as a glow of soft, golden light. Then it took a shape, a human shape, but it was not solid. It was made of light and gentle energy. It had no face, no details, just a calm, bright human form. The scouts stepped back, raising their dead weapons on instinct. The being did not attack. It simply stood there. Then it spoke. Its voice was the same calm voice from the ship, but now it was here, with them. It sounded sad. "You were warned," the being said. The warning was a kindness. On the flagship, every screen flickered to life. They could all see the being of light on the planet. Hear its words. Admiral Crocs leaned forward, his heart pounding. "Show yourself on my ship." Crocs demanded, shouting at the screen. "Face me." As if hearing him, the air on the bridge shimmered in the same way. A second being of light formed right in the center of the command platform. The officers gasped, scrambling back. This being turned its faceless gaze towards Admiral Crocs. "We have always been here," it said. Its voice was not loud, but it filled the entire bridge. You just could not see. Croc stood his ground, but fear was a cold stone in his stomach. Where are the humans? The real humans? The being of light was silent for a moment. Then it began to explain, its words simple and clear. Long ago, we were like you. Flesh, blood, fear, anger. We built cities. We fought wars. We were limited. It gestured slightly, and images appeared in the air around it, not on screens, but in the air itself. They saw ancient human wars, suffering, and then a great change, a shift. We learned, the being continued. We learned that the universe is not about bodies. It is about thought, about consciousness. The body is a cage. We chose to leave the cage. The images showed humans glowing, their physical forms dissolving into light, joining a great network of energy and thought. We evolved. We became caretakers. Not of land, not of things. We became caretakers of potential, of understanding. The being gestured the planet below. This is not our home. It is a garden, a school, a place for other species who are ready to learn. Admiral Crocs listened, but his pride was a burning fire. He understood only one thing: conquest. So you are ghosts, memories. You have no armies. You have no ships. You cannot stop us. The being's light seemed to dim just a little. A feeling of deep disappointment washed over everyone on the bridge. You misunderstand. We do not stop. We test. Your violence, your desire to take. It is a sickness of the soul. The warning was a vaccine. You ignored it. The test was a chance for cure. You failed it. Crocs's face twisted in anger. A test? A cure? This was weakness. He reached down to his belt. He still carried an old weapon, a solid projectile pistol, a weapon of physical force, not energy. It was a symbol of his first command. He pulled it out. Your words mean nothing, he shouted. He aimed the pistol at the glowing being. This is real power. Admiral and O. Zale's voice screamed from the comms corner. Crocs fired. The sound was terribly loud on the quiet bridge. The bullet flew across the room, straight for the being's chest. And then it stopped. It hung in the air, just a hand's width from the being's light. It did not vibrate. It did not spin. It was simply frozen. The being looked at the bullet. Then it slowly turned its gaze back to Admiral Crocs. For the first time, its calm voice carried a hint of something else. Something ancient and formidable. You still choose violence? The air grew colder. Then you will face a mirror of your own soul. The being of light faded away. The bullet dropped to the floor with a metallic clink, but in the spot where the being stood, the air began to darken. It twisted and boiled like black oil. Shadow and smoke gathered, forming a new shape. It grew tall. It formed claws. It formed sharp teeth. It formed eyes that burned with a familiar, hateful fire. The creature let out a low growl. It looked around the bridge, and every officer there saw it clearly. The creature had the face of Admiral Crocs, a twisted, snarling, monstrous version of their leader. It was made of his pride, his anger, his violence, given form. It was a soul made visible. The Shadow Crocs creature locked its burning eyes on the real Admiral, and it smiled. The shadow creature stood on the bridge. It was tall and dark, made of smoke and sharp edges. Its eyes glowed with a hot, red light. It had the face of Admiral Crocs, but twisted with hate and rage. It looked at the real Admiral Crocs and growled. The sound was not from a throat. It was a sound of pure anger that vibrated in the air. Admiral Crocs stumbled back, hitting his command chair. His own face, made into a monster, stared back at him. His heart beat fast with fear. This was impossible. Open fire. Crocs screamed to his officers. Destroy it. The officers, shaking, tried their weapons. Blue laser bolts shot from their rifles. The beams hit the shadow creature and passed right through. They did nothing. The creature did not even flinch. It was like shooting at smoke. The shadow Crocs moved. It was fast. It swiped a dark claw at the nearest officer. The officer tried to block. The claw passed through his armor, through his body. There was no cut, no blood, But the officer screamed. He dropped to his knees, clutching his head. "My thoughts, it burns," he cried. He was not hurt physically. He was feeling his own fear, his own hidden angers, amplified 100 times. The creature fed on emotion. "Stop it. Stop looking at me." The officer sobbed, now curled on the floor. The creature turned away, bored. It wanted the main source. It wanted the real Crocs. On the planet below, Captain Vorin and his team were not fighting. They were seeing visions. After the being of light left them, a soft mist had filled the street. In the mist, images appeared. Private RYL saw his own village on his home planet. But in the vision, it was burning. Empire warships hovered above, firing at the houses. He saw his family running. He saw a younger version of himself in an Empire uniform, watching, following orders. He felt the shame, the guilt he had buried for years. "It's my fault," Arwyl whispered, tears streaming down his face. "I joined to protect them, but I helped burn them." Another scout saw the first species he had helped conquer. He saw their gentle, intelligent faces full of terror as his squad broke down their doors. He heard their cries, which he had told himself were just enemy sounds. Now he heard the pain in them. The city was making them feel what they had done. It was holding up a mirror to their souls, just like on the ship. But here, the test was different. It was asking a question. Can you face your own past? Captain Vorin saw his own vision. He saw a proud moment, receiving a medal from Admiral Crocs for bravery. But now the vision changed. He saw the other side of that battle. The so-called enemies were not soldiers. They were farmers, defending their land with tools. He had called it the glorious fight. It was a massacre. A deep sadness filled Vorin. He fell to his knees. "We were wrong," he said to no one. "All this time, we were the monsters." But then a thought came to him. A simple thought. "I see it now. I am sorry." As soon as he truly felt that regret, the painful vision around him faded. The mist cleared. The weight on his heart lifted. He was still in the quiet street, but the air felt lighter. He had faced his truth. He had not fought it. He had accepted it. He looked at his team. Some were still trapped in their visions, crying, but the old scientist, Zale, who had come down in a later shuttle and found them, was calmly sitting on the ground. His eyes were closed, his face peaceful. "Zale," Vorin asked. Zale opened his eyes. "The test is not about strength, Captain. It is about letting go. I never liked the violence. I always feared it. I have nothing to fight inside me, so the visions have no power over me." He pointed. "Look, the path to the park is clear for me, and for you now, too." Vorin looked. Where before there was a wall of dark energy, now there was an open, sunlit path leading straight to the glowing trees of Central Park. He had passed his test. On the flagship, it was hell. The shadow creature was chasing Admiral Crocs around the bridge. Every officer who tried to help was mentally knocked down by blasts of their own fear and anger. The creature was not hurting bodies. It was attacking minds. Crocs ran behind control panel. He was breathing hard. Sweat poured down his face. Every time the creature got close, he felt a wave of his own worst emotions. His pride that broke families, his anger that started wars, his coldness that ignored warnings. "You are me," Crocs shouted at the creature, his voice breaking. The creature stopped. It tilted its head. Its voice, when it spoke, was a horrible echo of Crocs' own. "Yes, I am your power, your glory, your conquest." It spread its shadowy arms. "You made me. Do you like what you see?" "No. You are a demon, a trick. I am your truth." The creature lunged. Crocs picked up a metal bar from a broken console and swung it. The bar passed through the creature's head. But as it did, Crocs' mind was flooded with a memory. He saw himself as a young officer, giving the order to bombard a peaceful planet to make an example. He saw the burning oceans. He heard the distant screams he had ignored. The memory was sharp and painful, full of the guilt he had buried for decades. He dropped the bar, clutching his head. "Make it stop." A weak voice came over the ship's comm. It was Zale, calling from the planet. "Admiral, listen to me. You must stop fighting. It is you. The more you fight, the stronger it gets. You must let go. You must surrender. Surrender? That word was poison to Crocs. Surrender was weakness. Defeat. No, I am an admiral of the Empire. I do not surrender. His rage flared. The shadow creature grew taller, darker, its eyes burning brighter. It fed on his refusal. Then I will destroy us both. Crocs yelled in madness. He ran to the ship's emergency panel. Behind a clear cover was a bright red switch. It was a manual overload for the ship's core, a suicide bomb, enough to vaporize the ship and everything nearby. If I cannot win, no one will. He smashed the glass with his fist and grabbed the switch. The shadow creature watched, its fiery eyes gleaming. It seemed pleased. Admiral Crocs took a deep breath, his finger on the trigger of total destruction. Admiral Crocs's finger tightened on the red switch. His heart roared in his ears. The shadow creature, his own rage-given form, watched and waited. It wanted this. It wanted the final violent act. Stop. The voice was not loud, but it pierced the air like light through darkness. It was a human being of light. It had reappeared on the bridge, glowing softly between Crocs and the shadow creature. The creature hissed and stepped back, as if the light hurt it. You have one last choice, the being said to Crocs. Its voice was calm but firm. Destroy or release. Crocs's hand was shaking. Sweat blurred his vision. Release what? There is nothing to release. You have taken everything. You have only taken from yourself, the being said. Look. The being gestured. The air shimmered, and Crocs saw his own life, not as a proud admiral, but as a child, a small, scared child on his harsh homeworld, wanting to be strong so he would never be hurt again. He saw that child choose anger over kindness, power over friends, walls over bridges. He saw the lonely path he had built, step by step, until he stood here, a man about to kill his own crew because he could not face his own reflection. Tears, hot and unfamiliar, filled Crocs's eyes. The switch felt heavy in his hand. The violence is your cage, the being whispered. You built it. You can unlock it. A soft sob escaped Crocs's lips. The fight drained out of him. The anger that had fueled him for a lifetime sputtered and died. He saw it now, the terrible, hollow cost of all his victories. His hand fell away from the switch. He dropped to his knees, his head bowed. I do not want this anymore, he choked out. Make it stop. As he said the words, the shadow creature let out a final, silent scream. It trembled, its dark form unraveling like smoke in the wind. The hateful light in its eyes faded. In a moment it was gone. Only a cool, clean stillness remained on the bridge. The being of light nodded slowly. It is done. On the planet, Captain Voran helped his last scout, RYL, to his feet. RYL had finally accepted his guilt. The painful visions had ended. Before them, the gates to Central Park stood open. A gentle, warm light shone from within. They walked through, Zale by their side. The park was beautiful. Trees glowed softly. In the center was not a throne or a weapon, but a simple, clear pool of water. The human voice spoke to them from the air. You have faced your truth. You may return. You will remember. A beam of soft white light enveloped the scouts and Zale. They felt weightless. A moment later, they were standing back on the flagship's boarding deck, clean and whole. The other officers on the bridge stared in shock. The being of light addressed the entire fleet, its voice in every room, every mind. The test is over. The lesson is learned. Outside the windows, the perfect black bubble surrounding them began to dissolve. Like ink fading in water, the darkness peeled away. The stars returned. The sun shone. Earth hung below, blue and peaceful. Your weapons are gone, the voice said. Not broken. Gone. From your ships, from your databases, from your very knowledge. Your minds will no longer hold the shapes of war. You will forget how to build a gun, how to plot an attack. Admiral Crocs stood up. He felt strangely light. He looked at his command console. The tactical screens, which once showed enemy targets and firing solutions, were now blank. The words and symbols for weapons meant nothing to him. He could not remember their purpose. "You are free to go," the voice said. "You will be guided out." A gentle, invisible force took hold of the flagship and the entire Fourth Battle Fleet. Like a river's current, it pushed them, slowly and surely, away from Earth, out of the Sol system. They could not resist. They did not want to. As they reached the edge of the system, the voice spoke one last time. "You were warned. You did not listen. Now you'll understand. Tell your empire. The Terran territory is forbidden, not by our threat, but by your own lesson." The fleet was released. Their engines came back online, but only for travel. The path home was clear on their star maps. Croc stood on the quiet bridge. His officers looked at him, their faces confused, scared, but also calm. The constant anger that had filled the ship was gone. Zale walked onto the bridge and stood beside him. "What do we report, Admiral?" Crocs looked at the view screen. Earth was a tiny blue, getting smaller. He thought of the child he saw in the vision. He thought of the cage. He took a deep, clean breath. "We tell them the truth," Admiral Croc said, his voice quiet and sure for the first time. "We tell them we ignored the warning. We tell them what we saw. And we tell them—" He paused, looking at every officer. "We tell them to never, ever look for Terran space again." The fleet turned toward home. Behind them, the Sol system glittered innocently in the starlight, a forbidden garden, forever peaceful, a place where the galaxy's conquerors learned they had nothing to conquer but themselves. The journey home was silent. The mighty Fourth Battle Fleet, once a symbol of terror, drifted back to Imperial space like a ghost. Its ships were clean, undamaged, but empty of their purpose. On the flagship's bridge, Admiral Croc stared at the star maps. The route was familiar, but the feeling was not. The usual buzz of tactical chatter was gone. Officers spoke in low voices, moving without the old urgency. They were not soldiers returning from a campaign. They were something else. Private Arwell stood at a station. He tried to recall the firing sequence for a ship's pulse cannon. His mind found only a blur. The memory was like a page torn from a book. He remembered the classroom, the instructor, but the technical diagrams, the numbers, they were just shapes without meaning. He felt no panic, just a quiet emptiness where violence used to live. 3 days later, they crossed into the Empire's border. A perimeter outpost hailed them. "Fourth Fleet, identify. Report on the Terran campaign." The comms officer looked at Crocs, unsure. Crocs nodded slowly. He opened the channel. "This is Admiral Crocs. The campaign is over. We are returning to Corps Command." No engagement occurred. A pause from the outpost. "No engagement? Your mission was conquest." Crocs closed his eyes for a second. The words conquest felt heavy and strange. The mission parameters were incorrect. "We will report fully to the High Council. Stand down." The fleet passed the outpost without another word. News traveled fast in the Empire. A fleet returning without firing a shot? It was unheard of. A stain on Imperial honor. When Crox's flagship docked at the massive Central Orbital Station, a delegation of High Council guards in sharp black armor was waiting. They did not salute. "Admiral Crox, the High Council demands your immediate debriefing. You and your senior scientist, Zale." Crox removed his command badge, placing it on his console. He followed them without a word. The High Council chamber was a circle of power. 11 senior leaders of the Empire sat in towering chairs, their faces hard. Grand Chancellor Forlac, an old being with cold gray eyes, spoke first. "Admiral, you led our finest fleet to a system rich with resources. You sent one message: no engagement. Explain this failure." Croc stood in the center of the room. He felt the eyes of the Empire on him. The old Crocs would have stood tall, blamed faulty intelligence, demanded another chance. The new Crocs simply told the truth. It was not a failure of arms, Chancellor. It was a failure of understanding. The Terrans are not what we scan. They are not a physical enemy. He told them everything. The warning, the empty cities, the voice, the test, the being of light, the shadow. He told them how their weapons were not taken, but unmade from their very minds. When he finished, the chamber was silent. Then Chancellor Forlack laughed. A dry, harsh sound. A fairy tale. You were tricked, hypnotized by some primitive psychic race. You have brought shame upon the Imperial Navy. From the side, Zale stepped forward. With respect, Chancellor, it was not trickery. It was evolution. They have moved beyond the need for physical form, for conflict. They see violence as a disease of the soul. And they have found a cure. Another counselor, a fierce military leader named General Drax, slammed his fist. Cure? Nonsense. They disarmed you with cowardly tricks. We will send the entire 1st and 2nd Armada. We will burn their ghost planet to dust. As Drax shouted, Crocs felt a strange sensation. A familiar, cold anger began to stir in his chest. The shadow of his old self. He saw the Council's rage, their desire for revenge, and for a second, he wanted to join them, to demand a chance to fix his mistake with more firepower. But then he remembered the light, the pool in the park, the release. He took a deep breath. The anger cooled, faded, and was gone. You can send every ship, Croc said, his voice clear and calm. It will change nothing. You will not find enemies to fight. You will only find a mirror. And the Empire, he looked at each counselor, may not like what it sees looking back. His words hung in the air. The certainty in his voice was unnerving. Chancellor Forlack studied him. He saw no fear, no defiance, no pride. He saw a hollow man, empty to the very drive that built the Empire. It was more disturbing than any defeat. You are relieved of command, Crocs. Permanently. You will be studied. Your mind will be examined for this contamination. Crocs nodded. As you wish. As Crocs and Zale were led away, the High Council began to argue. We must attack at once. General Drax insisted. We must research the psychic technology, a science minister countered. It is a plague of weakness. It ends here. Chancellor Forlack listened to the noise, the rage, the fear, the blind need to strike. He looked at the empty spot where Crocs had stood. The Admiral's final words echoed. You will only find a mirror. For the first time in his long life of conquest, Forlack felt a sliver of doubt, not about their power, but about its point. What if the Terrans were not a threat to their bodies, but to their very idea themselves? He raised a hand. The chamber fell quiet. The Terran system is to be classified. Code, eternal quarantine. No ship, no probe, no signal is to be sent. It is not a war zone. It is a haunted zone. It is off limits. Chancellor, we cannot show fear. Drax protested. It is not fear, Forlack said, though he wasn't sure he believed it. It is tactical ignorance. Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. This one stays shut. The order was given. Across the Empire, the star charts were updated. The Sol system, the Terran territory, was painted not with the color of a target, but with the black mark of a grave, a forbidden place. In a small, plain room on a quiet station, the former Admiral Crocs now lived. He had no weapons, no commands. He spent his days tending a small garden of alien plants, watching them grow. Sometimes at night, he would look out at the stars. He would find a dark patch in the sky where Earth existed. He felt no anger, no regret, only a quiet understanding, like the final note of a song. The Galactic Empire, in all its power, had met something it could not conquer, and so it did the only thing it could. It turned away, and in the silence they left behind, the garden of humanity continued to grow, peaceful and bright, an eternal testament to a simple, powerful truth. The strongest warning is not a threat. It is a lesson waiting to be learned. Years passed. The Empire moved on. New enemies were found, new battles fought, new territories painted in imperial red on the star charts. The Terran incident was filed away, a strange footnote in military history studied only by curious junior officers late at night. It was officially termed the Crocs anomaly, a case of mass hallucination triggered by unknown gases. Admiral Crocs was forgotten. He lived on a remote agricultural satellite, known only as the gardener. He grew things. Simple, peaceful things. On the edge of Imperial space, a young, ambitious commander named Talon studied the old reports. He was everything Crocs once was. Proud, hungry for glory, certain of the Empire's destiny. The Crocs anomaly fascinated him. Not the lesson, but the mystery. A whole system forbidden? It was an insult. This eternal quarantine is a scar on our honor, he said to his second-in-command, JYNN. A ghost story that makes us look weak. I want to see it. Commander, the orders are absolute. No approach. High Council decree. The High Council fears ghosts, Talon sneered. I do not. We will take a single scout ship, the Silent Dagger. Fast, stealthy. We will observe, scan, and prove it is just empty space and primitive fear. It was a reckless plan. A career-ending plan if caught. But Talon was sure. The Empire's strength was its will to see, to know, to dominate. To turn away was to admit a limit, and the Empire had no limits. The Silent Dagger slipped past the quarantine beacons. It was a needle in the dark. Talon watched as the Sol system grew on the view screen. A yellow sun, planets, and there, the third world. Blue, green, white clouds. Scan it. Every frequency. Maximum depth. The scans ran. The data poured in. Advanced energy signatures. Complex structures. And life. Abundant, vibrant life. But no weapons. No shield grids. No fleet signatures. It's undefended, JYNN said, confused. It's a paradise. Ripe for the taking. Talon felt a thrill. This was it. The Empire's greatest prize, left untouched by cowardice. See? No ghosts. No mirrors. Just the people who have grown soft in their garden. Record everything. This will be my triumph. But as he watched, something odd happened. The planet seemed to pulse. A gentle, warm light rippled across its surface, like a heartbeat. Then, a voice filled the scout ship. It was calm, familiar. It was the same voice from Crocs' reports. Hello, Commander Talon. Talon jumped. How do you know my name? Identify yourself. We know the shape of your ambition. It is an old shape. We have seen it before. Show yourself. We are the Galactic Empire. We do not fear you. We know. The voice held a hint of infinite sadness. You have come to look. So, look. The view screen changed. It didn't show the planet. It showed Talon himself. Not a reflection, but a vision. He saw himself in the future, standing on the High Council, hailed as the conqueror of Terra. He saw statues in his name. He felt the power, the glory. It was everything he ever wanted. Then the vision shifted. He saw the other future, the one behind the glory. He saw the beautiful cities of Earth, not burned, but changed. The humans, those beings of light, were gone. In their place were beings of grim industry, of cold efficiency. They were building weapons, not for themselves, but for him, for the Empire. They had taken his ambition and reflected it back, amplified. He saw his own empire turn into a monstrous machine of endless conquest, fueled by this new, terrible knowledge. He saw the galaxy burn, and himself as a hollow emperor standing on a mountain of ashes, alone. It was not a threat. It was a simple, clear equation. Your desire to take, if fulfilled here, will not give you a garden. It will only turn the whole universe into a reflection of your own endless hunger. Talon stumbled back from the screen, gasping. The glory was gone. All he felt was a crushing, infinite emptiness. The vision of his desired future now tasted like ashes. What do you want? He whispered. Nothing, the voice said. We want nothing from you. We are simply showing you the seed you came here to plant, and the tree it will grow. JYNN, who had seen a different, quieter vision of a peaceful life she had long forgotten she wanted, spoke softly. Sir, we should go. Talon, his face pale, could only nod. The hunger for conquest was gone, extinguished not by force, but by foresight. He felt sick. Get us out of here. Now. The Silent Dagger turned and fled, faster than it had come. Back on his satellite, the gardener felt a distant tremor in the fabric of things. He looked up from his plants, towards a certain point of light. He felt no alarm, only a gentle sadness, like a gardener seeing a young seedling try to grow in poisoned soil, and then choose to wither instead. He whispered to the stars, "The garden tends itself." The silent dagger returned. Talon filed no report. He claimed sensor failure, a navigational error. He requested a transfer to a quiet logistics post far from the front lines. He was never ambitious again. The High Council noted the incident. They reinforced the quarantine. The black mark on the star chart grew thicker. The Empire, in all its relentless expansion, now had a permanent hole in its map. A silent, empty spot that was neither enemy nor ally. A place that could not be beaten, because it offered nothing to fight. A place that could not be owned, because it showed you the true cost of ownership before you could even reach for it. It was simply forbidden. And in that forbidden space, the unseen garden of humanity continued, not as a threat, not as a prize, but as a silent, unwavering testament to a different path, a living reminder that in the vast, dark jungle of the cosmos, the most powerful thing is not the fiercest predator, but the one clearing where no predator can enter, because to enter is to forget what claws are for.